Hello, Tom.
Hello, Michael.
Tom, we're here in Conna. Thank you very much for telling us about some of the events, in particular one when Meatloaf played in Conna Castle back in 1990.
That's right, June 2nd, 1990. We'll always remember that date.
Why was that? Remember that date? Was that with all the events there? Was that one of the particular big ones with Meatloaf playing?
It was. It drew the biggest crowd as well. I mean, Meatloaf was so huge before he came to Ireland. So the fact is he came to a small place like Conna, created a big stir at the time, and there was great interest in it.
Now, of course, he had the Conna Castle festivals. It was an annual event.
It was. Originally, in the 40s, 50s, there was carnivals. They were held in the castle grounds, concerts and all kinds of things of fundraising. But then later on, that to run its course, the Conna Castle entertainment actually started off in a very simple way. It started off, the waiter were looking for a new floor for the hall, and they just wanted to raise funds to do that, very simply. And there was a little committee formed, and they decided they'd run an outdoor concert in the castle grounds and have it as a kind of a barbecue style. Like, there'd be crew beans, there'd be soup there, and there'd be a big fire, and there was actually two stages originally. There was a stage for dancing, a stage for the big acts then. But that was so successful after a few years, just taken over, completed by the Community Council as the official fundraiser. And that actually, it ran, the whole thing in the Castle Grounds ran from 1969 to the year 2000. And it was hugely successful.
Yeah, you mentioned Muintir na Tíre. Who are they?
Oh, it's a rural voluntary body that was, I think, formed by my father Hayes from Tipperary. He wanted the rural people to be able to help themselves and, develop their community and, provide entertainment and education for their own people. And actually, I think they became members. The Federation of the Muintir na Tíre was founded in 1937. And that actually led to the building of the hall, the old hall that we still use in 1945. So you can see how important Muintir na Tíre was to the community.
And Muintir na Tíre, of course, was for the younger generation. As such, they had a lot of young, 10,000 members, I believe.
Yeah, well, the Muintir na Tíre catered for young and old. Muintir na Tíre literally means the people of the country, So the young people are looked after, and the older people were actually also looked after. And in 1973, then the Muintir na Tíre name changed into just Community Council, and that was an elected body that all the different townlands could elect people to serve in the Community Council.
So over the years, the annual event got bigger and bigger.
It did, yeah.
And then did you start doing, was it bands or DJs then when you went into the more modern times?
Well, there was not DJs really. There was, like I said, there was two stages. One was for people who just want to go there to dance and enjoy themselves, and good bands. And then, not too far away in the Castle Grounds, there was also a stage with the main act, the big name, And so there was something for everybody.
So there was a lot of volunteers involved, like building the stage, and it was all hands on deck for that?
Oh, sure, it's 100% volunteering, really. Everything to do with, apart from the advertising and things like that, everything was just pure volunteer. That's what Muintir na Tíre is founded on, is voluntary effort,
So advertising, of course, would cost a bit of money, but building the stage and security and all for these events,
yes,
that was all voluntary.
There's sponsorship, there's advertising, there's preparing the grounds, because it's the OP own the castle and the grounds.
Can you tell me about the grounds? It's a kind of a natural amphitheatre for music events.
It is. Yeah. It's on a slope, because Conna Castle was built on a big rock, big outcrop of limestone rock on the top of this hill, and the ground kind of fell away below that. But the bow, that's the area enclosure around the castle. That's still where the people would be, and they'd be able to enjoy the music. The stage actually was facing the castle, but the people could sit or stand between the stage and the the actual castle itself, and the music actually just hit the bounce off the walls of the castle and magnified thing. And there's a natural amphitheatre there.
Around that time, I think it was in the late 70s, in Ireland, there was a lot of outdoor music festivals happening. I'm just trying to recall, like the Macroom Mountain Dew Festival, where they would have had like big acts like Rory Gallagher and Dennis Costello playing down there. And around that time, or maybe before, they did Liston Varna event going on with Jackson Browne and big American artists singing there, and of course Conna Castle.
That's right.
But in those kind of natural amphitheatres, so ye had your own, but a much smaller one in Conna.
That's right. But of course, the idea of the outdoor events is that you're not limited. You know, usually otherwise if there's indoors, to be limited to the capacity of the hall. Whereas when you have an outdoor concert, you can take as many as you get.
And how many was the capacity there?
Well, there was
How would turn up?
there was thousands actually for the Meatloaf. I believe there was between 4,500 and 5,000 people up. But that would be probably a bit of an exception because Meatloaf was so big, and you know they attracted people from far outside what they normally would attract in Conna. You know.
What kind of bands did you have just in the lead up to Meatloaf, to prior years? Of course, she went on Irish acts there.
How does the Bears, Dublin City Ramblers, the Dubliners, you could Susan McCann, you know, you could go on and on. All the popular people at the time were hired, in fairness to the people who were...
You Shakin' Stevens?
Yeah, there's... you see, in the year before Meatloaf, there was a band called Smokey. They were huge at the time. Then you'd Meatloaf, and the year after then, you'd Shakin' Stevens, and you had Aslan. Now that's Christy Dignan's band, because we heard a lot about Christy Dignan. He died there not too long ago. And also the Golden Horde, which were a great band as well. So that was probably the pinnacle of the Castle concerts, you know, the concerts there. They're huge, but there had been very, very big, I'd say every big Irish artist was there at one time or another.
So you had various acts there, so with the Irish acts and like the Golden Horde, they had a great song at the time. I think we had two friends lost it.
That's right, yeah, that's right.
And of course, Christy, the late Christy.
That's right.
And Alison. And then, of course, the Susan McCann must have been big.
She was fierce big at the time, yeah. Oh, there's the Barnes story. I want to list and read out, but like I said, every probably well-known artists in this country were there at one time or another. And the funny thing, you know, Christy Dignan, that's a great singer, who died there recently. He actually was in Conna Castle Barbecue twice. He was there in, I think it's 1991, with Dignan and Goff, because he had been originally with Aslan, but he left them then, and then he joined up this band called Goff, who was a guitarist. So he came to Conna as Dignan and Goff. And in 1995 then, he came back with Aslan again, because they reformed again. So he was there twice.
So he obviously, Christy enjoyed coming to...
He did. And what I find, even my own son and daughter now were there the day before, like the afternoon before the actual concert that night. And they just want to see the atmosphere, walk around, look around the place. But the band were over there, Aslan were there. And they found that they were so friendly and to the children. And Christy in particular came over. He was chatting. He was a natural with children. He was a lovely person. Because a lot of big artists, sometimes they're a bit standoffish or a bit remote. They don't engage with people. But he was extremely nice. So I've great memories of him.
That's a nice legacy to know about Christy. So we'll go hop on to when Meatloaf were booked. How did you go about booking a big band like Meatloaf?
Well, with some great people here who were great at, you know, musical people, and they'd contacts us in the music industry. And as it so happened at the time, Meatloaf, who had been huge in the 80s and the 70s and the 80s, he was going through a bit of a lull. And you see, I think Meatloaf was larger than life, but he got into drinking, drugs and everything. He's got to fill out his music, his company, and because he didn't honour contract, he reneged on some contracts. but they actually cut off his royalties, so he was kind of on his uppers. But then he reformed. I think he got out of his bad habits, so he tried to make a comeback. So what they decided to do is come to Ireland, and play in the smaller gigs and get his enthusiasm back again. And the Swarbrick brothers, which you probably know of, Tommy actually was a promoter at the time, and he had contact with Meatloaf's manager. So he contacted him to see would he come to Ireland, and he did. So he played it not alone in Cork. He played in, say, Brewery, County Limerick, Mill Street, County Cork, Tralee, Kerry, Moat County, Morton County, Wicklow, Westmeath, sorry. So it meant a lot to him, because it seems the pressure was off him, that he seemed to regain his enthusiasm. He even spoke about his autobiography afterwards. He said his warm memories of his time in Ireland, they were great times. And after leaving Ireland, I think he was in Ireland twice, after leaving Ireland then, he went back to America and he got as big as ever, in fact, bigger probably. So his time in Ireland played an important part in his rejuvenation, in finding himself again. So it worked out for everybody. Of course, we were delighted. We couldn't believe that we'd got such a big name in Conna.
But like you said, from those power ballads, Bat Out of Hell, from the 70s, and then all the other hits that he had, he did follow, go to fashion the way music goes, I suppose. And he was a bit down his uppers, like you said. He was arrived at, he's done his tour around there in Ireland. But when he came to Conna, when they arrived here, what was it like? You were obviously expecting him, and I suppose, like you said, your children were being greeted with rock stars like Trusty Dignam and so. What was it like when Meatloaf arrived up? Did he arrive up in the back of a tractor, or what? Did he come up off the bus stop, or what?
He didn't.
Did he have a presidential cortege?
Well, yeah, it was nearly like the president was there, but of course there was no children there, because they wouldn't be allowed to be constant like that. Just too dangerous, But even that afternoon, even the early part, even before noon, and in the afternoon, the atmosphere was fantastic, because see, it was like as if you can sense there's something big in there. The fact is, people are coming in from places like Limerick, Kilkenny, Tipperary, Fabberfield, even coming in, 5 or 6 people in a car, 6 people in some cars coming in and being in the pubs, and the bikers. Then you can see he was very popular. Meatloaf was very popular at that. The bikers, and then come in, the hairy bikers come in with their motorbikes. So the atmosphere is building and building and building during the afternoon, and it's fantastic, because the kids are in the grounds. Then they were over sampling things, because they had to go away then later on. But like that was
so the whole village was.
Oh, it was buzzing, yeah.
And of course the whole village was delighted, of course, because this was a great an economic benefit.
Oh, it was for the posts, of course. And it was the guest houses. There was not many guests around, but everybody did very well out.
So Meat arrives in his entourage. So
he did. You see, first of all, he just kind of people went before him, preparing. They were literally here in the hall, and they were getting make sure everything was right for him, because see, he'd be having a meal and a shower before he'd go over to change his clothes and everything like that. So a few local women, they were detailed to kind of do all that and get it ready for him. But so eventually he came along, and he's kind of a big Jeep-like vehicle. It's hard to describe it. It's a huge thing, and all his security and his management, I suppose, came in, and they came in here, and then he wanted a meal, but the ladies who had fixed the meal from the loud into the room, he had to be looked after, as if somebody says, as if he was afraid of being poisoned or something. But anyway, they had to leave, the premises, because when he was looked after, and then at the end of it, he decided that he wanted a shower. So the local ladies then heard this, and they rush in to tell him, buy this big shower, this big, huge, big towels. They'll get it 3 or 4 or 5 of them out for him, And afterwards, then he did that, and he was ready to go, and he went over to the hall. But after then, the ladies were hoping that have that towel as a souvenir from. He took them with him, In fact, he went to the castle grounds of having a big towel over his head. So they never got any souvenirs. But when we went over there, it was like cavalcade, it was like President of America, you're right. And he was surrounded with security and management and everything like that, And but he came in, he just told over it, and he didn't engage with anybody, He was just being rock star,
Now, they do it to hack the towels for the show where he wanted to pour it over his head as well. So,
But unlike with Tristan Lignan, who engaged with people, he just came in and he had a job to do, and that was it,
But you got to give credit as well, though, because if he was down these operas, like we said at that time, and he was doing this small tours around Ireland, he was probably financially very low and all that, but he still wanted to keep in touch with playing live. And
I'd say so. As well as that, they were saying to her that he wanted to earn enough money to have a new hit record or something like that. There's a lot of reasons given. But I'd say he just wanted to get away from it all in America and kind of rebuild again. And it worked out, obviously.
What was it like when he went on stage?
Well, it's about 12:30 before he went on stage, because there was a...
12:30?
Yeah. You see, it only starts about 10 o'clock that night, and there was a kind of a warm-up band. There was the Team and Hats. They were a Cork band, actually. They played until after 12.
They're a rock band as well.
They were. I haven't heard much of them since, but they were very good,
Thieves and Hearts.
Thieves and Hearts, yeah. They were there. But the crowd is building and building, and there's fellas swarming in, and the security was just as well. We had loads and loads of volunteers, and we did the Red Cross, you did the police, you had 2 doctors on standby, and you needed that. Because the last thing you'd want is something go wrong. And of course, there's always the bigger the crowd, the bigger the chance of something going wrong. But thankfully, it worked out well. It was very, very well organised and very well.
How much was a ticket to him about?
€10.
€10. Of course, at all concerts, there's always someone trying to get in, especially at the outdoors, climbing over a field or crossing a stream or something. Did you have any? How did you counter? Did you have security for that, or did you cater for that?
Oh well, in fact, there's our own volunteers did that, because a lot of people had walkie-talkies and high-vis jackets, and they were groups of them actually were patrolling the confines, the boundary around the castle, the barn around the castle.
Of course, in Peachdale.
Peachdale, yeah. And it's kind of like the shrubbery and bushes and royals and everything around, And at the back of it, the castle was built on top of a hill, but there was actually a cliff down the back of the castle, down to the River Bride. But fellas, it's amazing how ingenious they were. They tried, even there's only 10, they decided they want to get in for nothing. So they were constantly crawling under bushes and blackthorns and barbed wire, and there's oil was spilled around the place to keep them out. But they still tried to come in, and of course a few of them did come in, but of course they were nabbed by the people inside with flashlamps and everything like that, and they were made to go around to the front gate and pay if they wanted it, But I can imagine climbing up a rock cliff, when there's oil on it, with good clothes, and back in those days, fellas had maybe good suits on, for the sake of saving a tenner.
So they might get in with covered in oil and torn with the barbed wire and stuff like that. So
it was very good. And I'd say some of the boys, the lads who were in the little groups going around, I said they enjoyed, beating fellas back with, beating them back until they come around again, they were delighted to catch him, nabbing him coming in.
So the concert starts, the place is evening.
Oh, yeah. And it was huge. And he just came on stage. He's a dramatic kind of person, and he's very energetic, and was very rowdy. That's what he brings out, probably the rowdiness in the crowd as well, And then the speakers, they were like thunder. I see, like I said, it's just facing the castle walls, and the sound is actually hitting the castle, coming back. And even there's people across the road in a place called Sycamore Drive, a little housing estate you see down there, and they said they could even see the cups rattling in the cupboards, on the tables, with the grounds nearly shaking.
Of course, he was larger than life, but he'd such a loud voice, a rock voice that was unique.
Yeah.
He was so powerful. I can imagine that reverberating the road.
And even we were, stewards at the time, and if even walking past speakers, to actually, the sound would literally hit you. I never experienced anything like it. It would actually, the sound was so loud, you could feel the sound, the impact it would have on you. It was huge.
So I mean, so he enjoyed it. I mean, he was used to doing the stadium rock.
I did, yeah. And you know, so
Played to 50,000 people.
He did.
And here you have 5,000 in a small village in Conna.
That's
but he equally got a good kick out.
he did, but you see, people said he was rowdy and he was kind of giving out to people and kind of somebody threw, I think it was a plastic bottle on the stage and he kind of threatened to take the band. But that's part of he enjoyed doing that. As you're up the country then, he came off the stage, he was going to, somebody threw stuff at him, somebody, he went to hit somebody, you know, and I think it was a secure fella he hit by mistake. But, you know, he loved that. And they say it in the story, but it's true or not. I think there's someone up the country as well. There's a wheelchair trial on the stage because there's nobody inside it. But he did pull he pulled the band off, but he came back here. That's like, you know, that's showmanship. It's like you go to circus, you see the fella nearly fall off the tightrope or whatever. That's just.
So he did walk off at the Conna stage at one stage.
No, he didn't. He threatened to. He didn't actually walk off. No, but so. Yeah.
But he went down the storm. He sang all the power ballad.
He did. You see, I'd say
Tree and Bad Out of Hell, all those ones at the time. And
Bad Out of Hell, 2 or 3 and Bad. Yeah, a Dead Ringer for Love. And he actually sang another, which wasn't his own, then Johnny Be Good, which is a big rock number, like, you know, people that. So the crowd were, you could only hear him, like, with the sound, like, you know, but the atmosphere was special.
Did you have much kind of lighting there as well?
Otherwise, there's powerful light in the trees. There's trees inside in the around the enclosure, around Castle, and like there's local lads who are good at that. They actually put up lights high up in the trees all around it. In fact, one of the lads here, he actually had to be taken to hospital. He was up fixing for the I think it's for that one, and he fell off a tree and he missed it. He was in hospital. He was brought to hospital in Cork, but he had local people doing the sound and doing the lighting like that as well. You know, they had their own crew as well, but a lot was done by local people.
Did he have his own band?
He did the Neverland Express. There were his band, yeah.
Oh, okay. So a great night at Conna. What's your particular? Have you any particular memory of the night? Were you security in the night?
I was just an army fella with a steward, like, you know, with the high visitor jacket. So it was great because I was able to move around. I had a good reason. I could move in around anywhere to get the full, you know, enjoyment out of it. I feel the atmosphere was just fantastic. And then when it was all over, it was all over. But tonight, 2 o'clock, it was before it was over. And then people began to drift away, and even the roads into Tella were full of people walking. They just walked, you know. And what happens then, they have to go around, the steward have to go around, make sure there's nobody hurt or nobody falling asleep or anything like that, you know, to make sure the grounds are safe. So it was all very responsibly organised, you know.
And where did Meatloaf and Neverland Express then? Where did they stay? Did they leave Conna that night?
They did. I'm not even sure when they went, but there's only a flying visit. And all they did Conna was have a meal here in the hall, you know, and prepare and have a shower and everything like that. But I'm not too sure where he went after that.
When you went back to America, like you said, he rose to fame again. And he came back with more power hits. Do you feel like because of the small gigs that he played in Ireland and particularly here in Conna that he helped in no small way in his rise back up again?
Well, he credited himself like that. That was the time out that he took in Ireland that helped to revive his career. And I think he loved the engagement of people, even though he was, you know, getting stuck in rows and everything. He liked that. And he loved that. Whereas the American things probably were different, but he did enjoy it. He said it himself in his autobiography. He loved the time in Ireland anyway. So I suppose we can claim some little small bit of credit, you know.
And of course, I suppose his legacy still lives on here because the successful fundraising that you did from your many festivals, and in particular the Meatloaf one, there was a lot of money raised to help Conna or build for the community halls and stuff. And
Otherwise, I thought, sure, but
was there any things that you hadn't built after that?
well, at that stage, we had the sports complex was built, but there was it helped in a lot of our development around the place, because you can't, you see, I suppose, confine the fundraising to the castle concerts, but it certainly helped. And there was, you know, there was a sheltered housing for the elderly was built, and the childcare facility was built here. But some, you know, there was grants as well went to those, you know, but it definitely helped a lot. The castle concerts helped an awful lot in all of those, you know. Definitely, it was one of the major fundraisers, shall we say, in the hall. You know, there was discos used to be held as well in the hall, but it was one of the major fundraisers, you know. And apart from that, it provided enjoyment for people. It wasn't all about money either. Like, you know, the Winter Theatre stands for providing entertainment and for people, as well as education development for people. And that was one of the things that it provided entertainment. People had some place to go, something to do, you know, by providing entertainment like that, you know.
Of course, it stopped. There's no more gigs at the castle anymore.
No. But
Why did it stop, and what happened?
well, it was becoming a kind of a logistical nightmare for everybody, because it's not the local people who are happy out with it. Even that's been off lot of work and planning and time and everything like that. But the fact is, I suppose insurance was getting huge out here. The police they weren't exactly too happy that it was an awful lot of work for them as well. There's so many reasons that the OPW wouldn't probably, they were afraid maybe something happened around as well. There was not even one thing in particular, but you could see it was coming to an end. It was coming to a natural end, because it wouldn't be worth while either running it, you know. So that's why it kind of eventually ended in 2000. But while it lasted, it was special, you know.
Well, thanks very much, Tom. It's great to hear about all the different events and the community work that you've done here over the years, and in particular to hear that Meatloaf played a famous gig in Conna back in the bank holiday June 1990.
That's great. It's great that Conna was part of all that, you know. So hopefully we helped Meatloaf in some way. Thanks, Michael. Thank you.